All right, after your yeast is proofed, hopefully it doesn't look too much like this. This is on steroids. Oh my God. The next thing you want to do is get your dough ready. So let's get into it. Now, if you can, and if your grocery store sells it, 00 flour is the best flour to use for pizza. But my grocery store doesn't sell 00 flour. So I compensate with bread flour, and you're going to use 2 cups of bread flour. Now, technically, if your yeast looks like this, you can put a little bit more bread flour in there, okay? You want to use 1.5 teaspoons of salt, but honestly, I use way less salt than that. The most I'm going to use for just aesthetic purposes is about 1 teaspoon. I use a little bit over a pinch in reality when I'm making my recipe. So this is about 1 teaspoon. And the reason why I'm putting it on after the flour is because you don't want to kill off the yeast. So don't put the salt first. I would put a layer of flour on first and then put the salt, okay? Now I'm lazy as all what the fuck. So I don't believe in kneading the dough. I believe in working smarter, not harder. So I will mix the dough and then I will allow it to knead itself. That is the purpose and the beauty of effective proofing, okay? Now hold up, wait a minute. What about the oil? I am slightly delaying because I want to get this a little bit more thoroughly mixed, but now is the time. Hold on. This is 1 tablespoon of olive oil, but you can use virtually any oil. I like olive oil, just me. I'm going to put the olive oil into the mix. Okay. Bam. Then we're going to continue on with this mix. Okay. And like I said, I am not going to knead this dough. Look at how messy I am. Ugh. Honestly, geez, this is harder to do with one hand than I thought. I like to use just 2 of them and get my hands messy. But, yes. You don't even have to thoroughly mix it all that well, to be real with you. The yeast is going to do the work for you. I guess I just want to show just how messy this process can be. Okay, there we go. There we go. The dough is starting to get a little bit more tacky, and that's what you want. You want it to go from shaggy dough to a little tacky. I want to get a little bit of oxygen in there. I'm giving the yeast as much of a boost as I can so it can do its own thing. Okay, I'm not going to micromanage the yeast. I'm not going to sit here and pound the shit out of the damn yeast. Roll the hell out of it. I'm going to let the yeast do its thing to this dough. Okay, give it enough oxygen to get going, and bam, let it do its own thing. So this is not the glamorous part of this process, but just get a little bit of oxygen in there and get this thing going. Okay. Now, if you want to be professional, this is where you take the dough, you clean out another bowl. You put a whole bunch of oil. You oil that thing up and you put dough, your fresh little dough ball in there. Okay. I am not going to do that because what am I? Lazy. And I know once this thing rises, I might lose a little bit of dough, but I'll show you later. I'll show you my little process later. So I know I'm gonna get some comments. How come you didn't put it in a bowl of that's covered with oil and lined with oil? Because look, this is my video, number 1, and number 2, I work smarter, not harder, because I'm lazy as shit. Now, this is good enough to get it going. Okay. Now you're gonna rinse your hands with water. I already did and I would show you, but that would be an impossible task to show you when I'm holding the damn camera to film. So you're gonna rinse your hands off with water and soap to get that dough off. That's like one of the hardest parts of making damn pizza is all the goddamn dough that sticks to it. After that, you're going to get a towel that's large enough to cover your whatever you're putting in, containing your dough in, and you're going to wet that towel up nice, okay? Remember, I'm one-handed. You're going to wring it out a little bit because you don't want a whole bunch of water dripping everywhere in your fridge or on your counter. But you want to make sure this thing got some water in it, okay? You know, it ain't got to be super soaked. Just let it just have a little bit of retention. And this is microfiber, so hold on. Once your dough ball is covered, just let it rise. And I usually will put this in the fridge, and I won't use the dough until 24 hours. I know it looks really shaggy in there now. Wait till you see it rise, okay? Don't get discouraged, okay? Do not feel like in order to make this look beautiful, I must beat it by hand. No, work smarter, not harder. This shaggy dough is going to look very beautiful once the yeast do what they need to do. Once the yeast does its thing, okay? This is going to be a whole different look in here. I'll show you that afterwards in the next process. But just a side note, I usually let this dough rise for at least 24 hours before I use it, and I put it in the fridge. At least 24 hours, at least 12 to 24 hours. But given the conditions and the temperature outside, it's pretty cool. It's fall. I'm gonna let the dough do its thing on my countertop for about 6 to 12 hours. That time frame is important because you want the dough, you don't want to proof it, you don't want to let your dough rise for just an hour because it won't have any flavor, okay? You want flavor in the dough. And the only way you're going to get flavor, that flavor, is for the yeast to really do its thing and really bring some fermentation into the dough, okay? And in order for that to happen, you just got to give it some damn time. But if you give it too much time, the yeast will do way too much work, and you'll end up with fucking beer and acidic ass, damn over flavorful yeast. It'll taste straight like beer. Okay, so in order to avoid that beer, you need the right window of time. Timing is everything. We are baking here. Okay. So I would say if you're going to do countertop, meaning if you're going to leave your dough out to rise on a counter and the temperature is, oh, say, in the 60s, mid-60s, 60, around there, I would let your dough rise between 6 to 12 hours. So I'm not going to, it is 2 p.m. now. It's 2:27 right now. I'm not going to touch this dough ball until about 8 o'clock. Okay, till about 8:30. All right. And before I make this any longer, don't be discouraged. This is not the final product, okay? This is the starter pack. When you are lazy as me and don't need a dough ball to look like perfection, straight out the damn plastic. Give it time. And in part 2 or in the next part, I don't know what damn part I'm on, you will see the perfection of procrastination and laziness. Hello, holla if you hear me.